hanging out with this guy for so long.
For once, yeah. I mean, I think the challenging part was how to embrace the story. I mean, the story was there, it was written, we had a fairly good idea where it was going, but it would change down the line. So for all of us, it was like every day was there was a surprise in the package. I didn't necessarily see them all because Asger was the one who was filtering everything. So he would always come up with this crazy professor idea of something new, and you know it came from the internet somehow.
Yeah, I mean, we set about in a pretty dramatic time frame to start this crazy road trip where we were going to try and create a story. Meanwhile, while we were getting feedback from all these people all over Europe, which was a major challenge. So you're like, you set yourself on the tracks, the train is rolling down the, towards the distant horizon, while we are sort of trying to incorporate all the ideas that come floating in and see if we can mold it into some sort of story. We're trying to tell a story in 8 episodes, and still try and keep a red line through it somehow, while we get a lot of inspiration from all over Europe, but also some curveballs, you could say. So that's difficult, but it was also a part of the fun. Yeah, I think we shot for 6. No, we traveled. There was a lot of travel. We traveled 8,000 kilometers through 8 countries. So it was more or less travel day, rest day, prep day, 2.5 shoot days per episode. And I think altogether we shot about 23 days, something like that.
But we also shot on the travel days a lot.
But then, yeah, because we like to
I always look forward to, now I can sleep in a car and go somewhere, but no, I will always be behind the wheel and do something fun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in terms of the story, when we looked everybody in the eye and said, let's do this crazy project, we agreed to go down the road and do these 8 episodes, and we tried to find a way to weave them together. So we came up with a rough storyline about a guy who arrives at the continent with a murky past, and he has to transport something from one country to the other while there's all these obstacles. So we created a simple storyline that allowed for a lot of space to push the character one way or the other as we went along, and we got all this feedback. So we tried to keep that boat sailing in one direction, but it was a very conceptual, simple story in order to allow the room for all this feedback.
No, it's not really a risk because it's part of the whole project. I mean, if we were like making a straightforward film, and all of a sudden 10,000 producers would come in and fiddle with the story, that would be a risk factor. But this was the whole idea. So instead of viewing it as a risk, we viewed it as a benefit, a gift, and something that we would have to embrace down the line.
I mean, a classical movie, you gotta write and prepare for a year, and you won't allow anybody to come in and interfere with you. This had to be a simple story where we could allow some interference, and embrace it as a part of the spirit of it. No, not at all. I mean, we didn't really have time to settle down anywhere, but I mean, I did the journey, the entire 8,000 kilometers 3 times. First with a writer for an inspiration journey, second for prep, but that was just like 1 day in each country, and then finally while we were shooting and prepping. But my approach also I come from both documentaries and fiction films, so my approach for this, and the only way I knew it was ever going to be possible, was more or less to create a real wedding. The only thing is that it was not a real couple getting married. Those were actors, but everybody else were real people. And to the big fright of the producers and everybody, usually you don't put alcohol on the tables because a shoot like that can get out of hand. But at the same time, I knew the only way to get this going was to pretend it was a real wedding and get people to sort of embrace it as a real wedding and start drinking whatever they were drinking at a wedding, and and so it became a wedding, and it's just up to us to shoot it almost like a documentary piece.
I am born in the former millennium. I have to admit that's one of the reasons why I got kids. That's so they can fix whatever I have in my hand. I'm not good at it, but obviously the smartphone has become like one of the most important things in everybody's life, and mine as well, I guess. But I'm not good at it.
And I have to say, to the credit of Telecom and all these people who are behind this, they were very whatever you want in terms of, don't have to put phones anywhere and so on. I was like, well, on the other hand, I do travel a lot, and I like the gadgets, and I love to use the phones. So we just looked each other in the eye and said very early on, look guys, for everything I can imagine that a guy who does this would use his phone, we will do it. Put it in there, why not? Because that's the tool of a modern man or woman.
Well, I can easily answer that one, no, not at all. I have a few friends I haven't called for a long time. I don't have time for 2,000 new friends. So, no, I'm not using that.
I'm using Facebook all the time because I'm always living in a suitcase, so it's the only way I can stay connected to friends and family. I do use Twitter occasionally, but I think that's more of a balance where I think it's people go a little bit overboard and tell you exactly where they are all the time. That's not necessarily, but for basic things and information, for sure.